Okay, so when it comes to when do you use which formula, okay, you have to divide your questions into a right angle triangle or is it not. So first decision that you have to make, what type of triangle do I have, okay? Okay, and this is where you have the two different separate formulas, right? Where you have right triangle and where you have oblique triangle. With a right triangle, there's two different formulas or sets of formulas that we use, right? The first one is the Pythagorean theorem. And this is when I'm given two sides and looking for the third. Okay? And with the Pythagorean theorem, you have A, B, and C, right, where C is always your hypotenuse, and then you can change your formula accordingly, right? So if you are given the C and the A, you can find B. If you're given the B and the C, you can find A by changing your formula. Are we okay with this so far?
Yes.
Okay. The other sets of formulas that you can call your trig ratios. Trigonometric ratio, which is every time I ask you what are your trig ratios, you go blank. Because you like to hear SOHCAHTOA. Okay? In the case of SOHCAHTOA or the trig ratios, you need to be given at least either two sides and you're looking for an angle, or an angle on a side, you're looking for another side. So you need to have, it doesn't matter which one. You can pick which SOHCAHTOA to use, but you need either two sides and you're looking for an angle, okay, or you need a side and an angle, and I'm looking for another side. Okay, and in this case, you're going to have to look at what's given to you. Is the opposite given to you? Is the adjacent given to you? Is the hypotenuse given to you? What are you looking for? So it all depends on the given information. But at this point, you can use one of the SOHCAHTOA.
Sorry, so the two sides looking for an angle, is it two sides and one angle or just only two sides?
For which one? This one?
Yeah, for...
The other angle is going to be the 90 degree.
Okay, 90 degree. Okay.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if you know the second angle, then you can do 180 minus the 3,
okay.
right? Minus 90 to find the third one. Minus 90 minus the other one. Okay, so in this case, you have to kind of label your triangle according to the angle of focus, and then or angle of interest, and then decide which ratio to use.
But the angle you are looking for, can it be that should be an angle of focus?
That's your angle of focus. So if, let's say, if I ask you to look for this angle, right? And you're given, let's say, this and this, right? Then you know your opposite, you know your adjacent, right? So you can use tan, right?
It seems there's one question out of the assignment homework that the angles were not given, other than the 90 degrees.
Other than the 90? Yeah, which is like this.
The right angle triangle
Like this.
and one side.
One side? Is there a bigger triangle or another triangle that you can find on other side? Okay, we'll take up this question after. Just look for it. Okay? Because there must be enough information for you to know. Or it could be that it's an isosceles triangle. Or like there's different options. But we'll talk about it according to your question.
Sorry, you said the second one is one side.
One side, one angle, and you're looking for a side. So if I give you angle 42, right? And I give you that this is side equals 7, and I'm asking you to find this, right? If I give you, I have to give you at least two information, two things. Okay, two pieces of information other than the 90 degree. 90 degree, we don't use it. It's there because then I can use these two laws. Or these. Yeah. Are we okay with this? Looking for a side. Okay. So if it's not a right angle triangle, then you're going to have to get away from these two because these two are not, you're not allowed. It doesn't work. It doesn't give you the right answer. You're not allowed to use them with oblique triangles. So the two laws that we use with oblique triangles are the sine law and the cosine law. I'm going to start with the cosine law because it's easier to identify. Okay? So with the cosine law, you must be given two sides and the contained angle. So, you must know two sides, doesn't matter which two sides, and the angle between that form these two sides. So these are the given information that I must give you in order for you to be able to find your third side. Okay? So in this case, you'll be looking for the third side. Okay? And in this case, you can use cos law, but you can use it as like in this form, a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. So this is one option to use cosine law is if you have the two sides and the contained angle. Your other scenario is when you are given all three sides. So you see how it's easier to know if it's cosine law or not? And in this case, you're looking for an angle. If you guys want, I can, if you're not, if I'm too fast for you, I can zoom it out later and then you can take a picture. Okay, so if given all three sides, looking for an angle, so basically I give you side 1, side 2, and side 3, and I'm asking you to, whatever, find this angle. Right? So this is where you use cos A equal to b squared. So you use this formula or this version of the formula. Okay. Yes. You're looking at sine law.
Sine law, yeah. Sorry.
I'm looking at cosine. I always look at the question and ask myself, is it cosine law, before I ask myself, is it sine? Again, I don't know. It's for me. I don't know if it's for you too, guys. But it's for me, it's easier to identify if it's cosine law. Okay? Because I know cosine law, there's only two options. Two sides and the angle between them, or three sides. No other options. But if it's not cosine law, then guess what it's going to be?
Sine law.
Sine law. Right?
So we're going to find the angle inverse. And then if it's not, you don't have the sine, you just keep it as, right?
If you're finding the side here, you're going to have to square root at the end. Right? So right here at the end, you're going to have to square root so you can find your just A. Okay? And for this one here, you're going to have to do the cos inverse at the end to find your angle. Okay? So after you find whatever this is, then you're going to do the cos inverse of the b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. For sine to work, you need to have two angles and any side. Because once you have two angles, then you can find the third angle, right? Remember that. Remember this. This is one of the rules that a lot of people just don't see. You see what I mean? Like if I give you that this is 60 and this is 20, right away this is 100, right? Because it's 180 altogether. But a lot of people kind of miss that. Don't see it. Okay? But in this case, if I give you, let's say, this angle, and I give you this side, right? Then you can solve for this angle. It's not hard to solve for this, right? 180 minus the other two, right? And then you have this, then you can use sine law. So with sine law, you any two angles and any side, and then you can for a side. So A over sine A equal to B over sine B equals to C over sine C. Okay. The other condition for you to be able to use sine law, you must have, if you have two sides, then you must have an opposite angle. Okay? So you see how that word opposite angle, that's very important for the sine law in this case. Okay? So if I have two sides, so I give you this one and this one, I must have one of the opposite sides to these one of the opposite angles. So let's say I must be given, let's say, this angle. Okay? Then you'll be looking for this angle. Okay? And in this case, you use sine A over A equal okay. Again, I repeat myself again, and I say it's easier to determine if it's cosine law or not. If it's not cosine law, then it's sine law. Okay? Are we okay with this?
Yes.
All right.